Today in New Orleans, they got a lot tougher on the holdouts.
Police department, anyone home?
Not only the flooded areas, but New Orleans' driest and wealthiest neighborhoods, too.
Police department!
The police and National Guard going street by street, house to house.
We need to make sure, too, that whenever we knock on doors, people refuse to leave. We need to make note, call it in.
They say there are no orders to use force, just strong persuasion, sometimes entering open houses with guns drawn, and instructions to disarm anyone inside.
You say guns will be taken? No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
That happened today in this wealthy neighborhood where homeowners had armed themselves to protect their mansions. Residents were handcuffed on the ground. In the end, police took their weapons but let them stay in their homes.
They were a little bit threatened because our weapons were bigger than their weapons.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city. This guard unit occupied a church, using it as a base camp. They had to leave a note because they could not get hold of the pastor to get permission.
It is surreal. Yeah, you never expect to do this in your own country.
Chris Montgomery says he'd rather be in Iraq than patrolling American neighborhoods.
Walking up and down these streets, you don't want to think about the stuff that you're gonna have to do. Somebody pops around the corner.
Be shooting in America.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on record. That happened. This is what they're training for. This is what they do the first chance they get. Stop living in denial.
Attention, attention, attention. American forces are here to help. Remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience.
Throw the gun away, Mr. Randall. Go on, throw it.
No tricks, mister.
This is the poorest county in Montana, and the $27 million prison has turned into a white elephant. Because there are no prisoners, Glenn and Ray Perkins got laid off after moving to Hardin to take guard jobs.
When I went to the door, there were two cops standing with their hands on their guns. I've lived in the same town for 26 years.
We got 90 and 94 sitting right over here where they intersect, which is a perfect place for a checkpoint. I noticed that they got these mobile checkpoint stations.
There's a lot of secrecy going on.
I'm concerned about the legitimacy of who they are.
Nothing is square in this whole deal.
I cannot let my grandchild grow up in this kind of thing.
And its main focus is to bring prisoners and jobs to Hardin.
We've got a beautiful, beautiful facility here.
Becky, it's time to get straight with us now. We need to know these things. I think the people of Hardin need to know this.
Becky shared her pay package. I don't know what she made as a reporter for the Gazette, but I know it wasn't much. But here, she's getting paid $60,000 a year, plus a house, plus a Mercedes.
I don't understand who this company is and why they...
Follow the money.
Where were they 2 years ago?
Follow the money.
That's all I have to say. Where were they before the ground broke?
Follow the money.
And its main focus is to bring prisoners and jobs to Hardin.
You think it's mysterious at all?
It probably is to those that don't know what's going on.
Carrie Smith is the wife of Two Rivers Authority Executive Director Greg Smith, who was recently placed on administrative leave.
Well, members of the American Police Force showed up in Hardin yesterday, driving vehicles with Hardin Police written on them. As Color 8's Nick Law reports, it created quite a stir, especially because Hardin doesn't have a city police department.
This was the talk of the town in Hardin on Thursday. Mercedes decked out in the City of Hardin Police Department decals and driven by American Police Force members. Two Rivers Authority officials say having APF patrol the streets was never part of their agenda.
Tell people what's really happening here.
Well, first of all, Alex, around the country, and it's not just in Montana, but specific areas are being identified as staging grounds. And just recently, we had 12 Tajikistan troops on BMWs. These are the same BMWs that you and I talked about meeting helicopters.
And by the way, the UN admits their main force is Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Egyptian and Pakistani. That's their main UN force. Well, Steve, we know in Serbia they've had black sites, the secret ghost sites with the kidnap, snatch and grab people.
Absolutely.
We know that they're in Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan. We know they're in Egypt. We know they're in Germany. We know they're in Poland. We know they're in the Czech Republic. We also know that they are in other areas. And so this fits the classic MO where they use these private ghost contractors to run this. Oh, I'm having trouble right now even dealing with this and processing it. Man, talk about Spookville, CIAville, black sedans running like roaches when you flip the light on at 3 a.m. in your apartment and there's like big fat roaches going. And they're like, ah! Now the locals are getting upset by these black Mercedes SUVs that have Hardin, Montana on them and then the double eagle crest just announcing we are your police. This is insane. Men with foreign accents stomping around. I mean, this is Red Dawn happening. And the local officials are going, yeah, we've been told they run the camp and that they run the town now. I mean, this is Twilight Zone. We're going to go to phone calls here in just a moment. Let's talk to Diane in Montana. Diane in Montana, where this is going on. But as Steve said, it's happening everywhere. Diane, what's your info?
Okay, September 9th, we had a small incident where there was a bunch of SUVs, black Hummers, you name it. It was all there. They even brought a helicopter in. It was 4 miles from my home. So when we went to check it out, they were all over climbing the mountains in camo, dressed up. They were armed, and they said they were just doing a training exercise. Called the sheriff's office, and we got the same story. It's just FBI training, but it was FEMA, right in Superior. And we're probably about maybe 4,000 population.
What did the locals think? And how many FBI FEMA troops were there?
Okay, there were 6 vehicles when my husband went right by them. He called back and said, lock down. I don't know what's going on, if there's escaped prisoners or what. Same time, helicopter came through, right overhead. Called his secretary who was coming in on I-90, told her to check that area out and look at it, and that's when she saw all the camo guys all over the mountainside just crawling up. Asked around town, people didn't think anything about it.
We now go live to Alex Jones on the ground in Hardin, Montana. Alex?
Okay, we just got a tour from Becky Shea, the former Billings Gazette reporter that's now the PR spokesperson for this facility for American Police Force. She admitted that it'll be a foreign paramilitary mercenary training facility. She admitted that it's going to be a detention facility. The point is this is just off the charts. They're now doing massive damage control. They're about to give us a tour of the outside of the facility. I just got a tour of only one wing of this gigantic $27 million facility. They would not let us into most of the areas. Just while I was in some of the offices, I saw blueprints, I saw documents. I'm just going to leave it at that. But this story is definitely the mother lode. This is definitely a black site / ghost site in the United States. They plan to have this be a ghost site, but locals blew the whistle. They were definitely going to try to become the police through the Two Rivers Authority, basically taking over the town of Hardin. This individual is tied in with high-powered Serb operatives. His dad is some type of high-ranking Serb, Chatar, but he won't give anybody else his name. Then you have this Hilton character. Again, that's a fake name. He's Serbian. There are German troops here, German paramilitaries, British paramilitaries, but they're keeping back from us deeper in the facility. Yes, I am in one of the black Mercedes-Benz SUVs inside the detention center. Becky is going to be, I'm going to be using the phone as a microphone so she can give us a live report. Becky, what about Blackwater connections? We've been hearing a lot about that, and the company in several places has bragged that they have Blackwater connections.
I've heard so many names that it's just absolutely phenomenal to me. We're not disclosing the name of our parent company, and that's it. We're not disclosing the name of our parent company. We stand alone.
Oh, there's a parent company.
Well,
there is a parent company of American Police Force.
There is an umbrella company. American Police Force stands alone as a corporation, and we are American Police Force. We are who we are.
But if it's a secretive group owned by a secret group and it's headed by a 14-time felon, and then they were putting police decals on their vehicles the first few days, I mean, don't people have a right to be a little bit concerned about this, Becky? There are newscasts for saying they wanted this to be Guantanamo Bay West. That was on CNN.
That was not American Police Force, and I'd ask you to go back and recheck your sources. That was too.
So they've not been requesting to have this as a facility to hold detainees?
No, sir. And please, everyone listen carefully. Two Rivers Detention Facility will not hold Guantanamo Bay nor other multinational offenders. We're a minimum and medium.
Why did I see documents on the wall, blueprints saying foreign alien detention facility? This is real. This is a ghost site / black site that we have on. This is a FEMA center they want to hold. She was telling me, I saw blueprints all over the place, scanning them quickly. I was walking through the facility, and she'd say, "Oh, don't tape that," or don't show that. Where it was saying alien detention, troop barracks, processing facility. She admitted they're going to do training to process people and to go out and set up checkpoints with CAT scan scanners, is the way she called it, to scan people's goods. So this is a huge processing center. I don't think she even knows everything. She seems pretty freaked out. She gets hired and finds out all this. And we went and interviewed bed and breakfasts, because there's hardly any hotels here. At two of the places, they said, oh, absolutely. Germans, Czechs, Brits, a lot of Serbs, really hardcore-looking people, won't pay in cash, act really suspicious. They've been here for a year. I mean, this is insane what we're dealing with up here. And they're just trying to act like it's all fine. We're not going to tell you our parent company. Everything's fine. Everything's wonderful. I mean, this is bizarro land.
Well, court records from Orange County, California indicate Michael Hilton has a lengthy criminal past, including a 6-year prison sentence for a dozen counts of grand theft and other charges. And we learned just yesterday there's a warrant out for Hilton's arrest in Wyoming.
American Police Force pulls out of contract negotiations with Two Rivers Authority.
Color 8's Sarah Gradley joins us now live from the newsroom to tell us more about the latest development in this story. Sarah?
Hey, Greg, Kathy. APF spokeswoman Becky Shea says it was a company decision to pull out. She says they learned things about the facility that made them lose interest in the deal.
Interrupt our regular program schedule for a special report.
Here is Wall Street Journal. KBR awarded Homeland Security contract worth up to $385 million to build 3 1 million person FEMA camps in the United States. It says the ICE detention and removal operations program can be used for illegal aliens and for U.S. citizens and for other emergencies. Here's the New York Times. Halliburton subsidiary gets contract to add temporary immigration detention centers, just like under Rex 84, the documents came out in the 80s. They said the cover would be for illegal aliens, but it would be really a martial law takeover plan and to suspend the Constitution and take over the media. So there's the New York Times we have saved up on prisonplanet.com. Also, George Bush reopened all the Japanese and German prisoner of war camps in the U.S. and put water in, light in, and then just have them set up and ready. That was in the CBS News. Bush to preserve World War II internment camps. So there's that article. Pentagon paying for fake news in the U.S. White House paying for fake news in the U.S. It's now in the tens of billions every year. This is what's going on. The fake news reports they produced and put on radio and TV that were made by the government. I've had Congress people on talking about how it's illegal, the fake news. All of this is being done. Fake polls, everything. How are they preparing the public? When I saw this at the time, I saw Tommy Franks and Cigar Aficionado. I saw Tommy Franks on CNN, Fox, MSNBC go, gee, I'm real sorry about this, but one more big terror attack, we're going to have a military form of government and martial law. I'm real sad about that, but that's what the American people are going to demand. That's the only thing that'll keep them safe. Now, you don't expect him to come out and say, gee, we're going to have a military dictatorship. Militaries throughout history love taking over societies 99% of the time, and America's just been in the exception. No, he's got to introduce it like, gee, shuck, I'm real upset, but it is the only thing that'll keep us safe. The Constitution won't survive a WMD attack. And I said at the time, I said, he is part of the Pentagon's billions in fake news. That's illegal. The General Accounting Office has already ruled that they're paying off reporters and people to go on TV. I said, I bet my bottom dollar Franks is being paid off. Now they're rolling them out in the news. The camps will be for you when you're starving during the collapse of society, which is what the IMF and World Bank have done to countless third world countries, and their own documents say they want to do it here. They have to fully bankrupt you so they can consolidate everything with the tens of trillions of fiat currency they're holding and hoarding of taxpayer money. And then once the riots start, which they're trying to push, they have Zbigniew Brzezinski on MSNBC, we played that the other day, saying, I'm really worried about these bankers. They're going to cause riots nationwide.
Millions and millions of unemployed. People really facing dire straits. And we're going to be having that for some period of time before things hopefully improve. And at the same time, there is this public awareness of this extraordinary wealth that was transferred to a few individuals. And you sort of say to yourself, what's going to happen in this society when these people are without jobs, when their families hurt, when they lose their homes and so forth?
As if he isn't one of the engineers of it. See, they know they've got revolution on their hands. They know that we did our job warning the people and exposing what was happening and putting all this information out, and people found out it was true. Here it is. This is from my film, The Road to Tyranny. I have 18 hours of this. I have them training all over the country. I have them teaching police to arrest anybody with a get us out of the UN sticker. This is what's been going on. Here it is.
You're damn right, because think about the Christians, okay? Do you accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior? No. What did they do? They took your head off. They beheaded you if you didn't accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. See, this is reality. Yeah, they're terrorists, but the bottom line is to them, they are not. When people are passionate about what they believe in, they become a very difficult enemy to beat. Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson?
Look at this guy. He's talking about the founding fathers and people that are committed. He's talking about constitutional terrorists. Before that, the cops are so conditioned. They say, who are the terrorists? Who are the first terrorists? The founding fathers. They all know. They all say founding fathers. They've already been taught this many times. He says that's a very difficult enemy to beat. No, you are the enemy when you become an enemy of the Bill of Rights and Constitution and let foreign bankers take us over. Play it again.
The guys who we call our founding fathers, George Washington, Mr. Honest, who cut down the cherry tree and admitted it, is the same guy who signed death orders, if you will, on members of the British government, the British Crown, who they wanted to eliminate because politically they had influence in certain pockets of the United States, at that time the 13 colonies, and they wanted to divide and conquer. They may get a whole lot of civilians, and hey, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? If they killed 10,000 civilians tomorrow with a biological agent, that's too bad for them.
See, it was all about Bush was going to do this. No, Bush was a puppet. Just like Nixon and Carter and Reagan and Bush and Clinton and Bush and Obama, they're just puppets, and we always obsess over them, and the media acts like they're running something. It's the executive power held by the National Security Council. In fact, 3 weeks ago, they had an article about General James Jones and the National Security Council saying they've now taken over continuity of government, even from the executive and Homeland Security, and that this private group runs it all. And then General Jones was in the CFR website writing, I take all my orders from former national security heads, Henry Kissinger and the CFR. I mean, that's why in the last week there have been 4 mainstream news articles that we posted at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com with Bilderberg group members like Etienne Davignon, the chairman of Bilderberg, saying, we set up the European Union, we set up the G20, we've set up the New World Order banking system. I mean, now they're openly bragging it's world government and they run it.
But it is the awareness itself that will drive the change. And one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance and global agreements. But the many business leaders who have been present here are among those taking leadership in other ways.
Yet these problems can be overcome by a joint effort in and between our countries. 2009 is also the first year of global governance, with the establishment of the G20 in the middle of the financial crisis. The climate conference in Copenhagen is another step towards the global management of our planet.
This is collective action, people working together at their best. I think a new world order is emerging, and with it the foundations of a new and progressive era of international cooperation.
And then if I dare talk about it, they go, oh, shut up, Jones. You crazy nut, none of that exists. And if you talk about it, you're going to cause violence. Just give in to the New World Order, roll over to it, hand your guns in. Let's start with the airport adventures, which they now admit are going nationwide with the Viper teams at bus stops, train stops, the streets, shopping malls, random vans, sending you through body scanners, biometrically scanning 360 your naked body. Now, I've seen more in-depth images by the actual companies where they can zoom in on pores. Okay, so they're showing you a low-res image, but totally naked, your family, it's child porn, they don't care. Now, if you take a picture of your 2-year-old daughter in diapers, and this made ABC News and CNN, the children's bottoms weren't even seen, but because the children had towels around them hugging. That was a 3-year-old and 2-year-old. They were arrested. Their children were taken. So that's things that aren't bad are called bad. But then the government recording your naked wife, you, your children, and now they're going in at all major airports, 214, and there people in Houston are being forced through them, but people are refusing and saying, no, you perverts, you're not going to do that. So Aaron Dykes and Rob Dew, back from 6 days of adventure with the police state in Canada and the U.S. Tell us what happened.
Well, I got hit up first. This was in D.C. flying to Detroit.
Because you got long hair. You get pulled out every time. Some kind of Al Qaeda.
But Aaron was already through security, and I walked through, and they go, oh, sir, can you step in here? And I said, so what's that? And they said, oh, this is our RFID scanner. And I said, no, I'm not going in there. And what do you mean? And I said, I'm not going in there. I said, I don't agree with that. And they said, oh, well, it's voluntary. I said, well, good, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, but so that's like SeaWorld made you thumbprint at first. It was voluntary. Now it's mandatory. It's like dog training.
Passengers describe a terror attack and the arrest of a suspect who tried to blow up a plane as it landed at Metro Airport.
We heard a loud pop, then a bit of a smoke.
Sounded first like a balloon being popped.
All of a sudden, heard some screams, and flight attendants ran up and down the aisles, and
everything's crazy. People are screaming. There's fire on the plane.
So there was a lady shouting back, and she was saying things like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
And at that moment, I was sure I was going to die.
And we're learning tonight more about the suspect. Let's get to Fox News' Andrea Isom. She begins our team coverage. She is live at Metropolitan Airport. Andrea?
As the hours go on, you are right. We are learning more about the suspect, and quite frankly, the details are chilling. The man, the menace, 23-year-old Abdul Mudala of Nigeria. Mudallah's despicable actions were all on al-Qaeda's behalf. Sources telling Fox News his instructions were to blow up the plane over U.S. soil.
The intelligence community knew about Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab weeks ago and failed to spread word that would have put him on the no-fly list.
The father of the suspect in the Christmas incident warned U.S. officials in Africa about his son's extremist views.
That a report was prepared and it was sent on to the CIA in Langley, Virginia, CIA headquarters, but it was not disseminated to the wider intelligence community.
Obviously, when you have a father coming in and talking to the embassy about a son who's radicalized, gives the embassy the passport number, the first thing you would think is a very fast effort to see if the person's got a visa and suspend the visa.
One of the things you don't know about is the number of people that we have turned away because their name has been on the watch list or on the no-fly list.
Only my mom could, but not me and my dad, because both me and my dad are on the watch list.
Tough to believe, but 8 years later, we are still talking about connecting the dots and a failure to communicate.
Call for immediate reviews on how this guy got on the plane
and how he was able to get some explosives on the plane. So we got a while to go.
This is a controlled patsy.
Facts are facts. You can have your own opinions, but you can't have your own facts.
And we have this same pattern that we've seen again and again. We have these individuals that have very limited mental equipment, but nevertheless they're able to work miracles. In other words, they can do things that a normal person would never be able to do. You'd be arrested, you'd be questioned, you'd be searched, you'd be stopped in some way.
He gets out of countries, he's disheveled, looks like he's drugged, stumbling around. I mean, this is classic.
He doesn't get on any serious list of for scrutiny or special search. And then we have this famous story of the well-dressed Indian who accompanies him.
I saw two men, and they caught my eye because they seemed to be an odd pair. One was what I would describe as a poor-looking black teenager around 16 or 17, and the other man, a age 50-ish, wealthy-looking Indian man, and I was just wondering why they were together. Kind of strange. And I watched them approach what I would call the ticket agent, the final person that checks your boarding pass before you get on the plane.
He gets from one plane to another thanks to this patsy minder, a patsy chaperone or patsy monitor.
The only person that spoke was the Indian man, and what he said was, this man needs to board the plane, but he doesn't have a passport. And the ticket agent responded, well, if he doesn't have a passport, he can't get on the plane.